Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome everybody out to the American Fork City Council meeting tonight. It's August 22nd of the year 2023. I would like to make public, and I will do it again in the roll call, Councilman Shelton will be absent tonight. We will be functioning with 4 council members. And we will follow the agenda, the amended agenda as it is outlined. We'll begin with a public hearing first, and we're here to receive public comments on the Deer Park Thompson annexation consisting of 4.35 acres at approximately 50 west, 1100 south. Anybody would like to make a public comment on this item, please come forward at this time and state your name. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the second item of a public hearing, and that is to receive public comment on the Deer Park South annexation consisting of 6.833 acres at approximately 50 west, 1300 south. Anybody who'd like to make a public comment, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we'll move on to our regular session. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, after which we'll have an invocation by Councilmember Taylor, and then I will conduct the roll call. If everybody would please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, as we bow our heads and come before Thee this evening at the beginning of our City Council meeting, we are grateful to Thee for the opportunity that we have to peacefully assemble and to come together as residents and as administration and business people and conduct the business of the city. We ask that Thou would guide us this night, Heavenly Father, that we might do so with civility and with respect. We pray that Thou would guide our thoughts and our actions for the best interest of all those who are involved. We are grateful, Heavenly Father, for this free country that we live in, for all those blessings that we enjoy. We are grateful for those who serve our country, for our protection. We're grateful for our public safety officials here locally and how they look after us and take care of us. We're grateful for all that we have been given and pray that we'll be mindful of these things, of the many bounties that we enjoy. And help us as we go about our work this evening, that Thy Spirit would be with us to guide us and to do good. And we express our thanks for these many blessings and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I'll now conduct the roll call. Councilmember Hunter. Here. Councilmember Shelton is absent tonight. Councilmember Barnes.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye, here.
Okay.
I'm here.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, item number 2 is time we set aside for anybody that would like to make a public comment to address the mayor, the city council, senior staff, for any purpose at all. We invite you to come forward and to state your name for the public record. I do have 2 that have filled out paperwork, and I'm going to call on them first. It's not limited to these 2, but I'm going to start with Reed Miller. Reed. Yes.
My name is Reed Carl Miller. The K is for Carl G. Mazer. We've lived in American Fork 18 plus years, and Saturday I was 90. 90 and what?
On the go.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, he just taught me that on the way in.
Caught you off guard.
He knew the answer.
At least one of you are.
He remembered.
She will be gone 4 years. I was the student body president of Brigham Young University High School. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of BY High. You have?
I didn't go.
Yeah, those are a few years back. I have a bachelor's from BYU, a master's from Cal State, Los Angeles, a PhD from the Red School in Salt Lake City. Do those red guys know the blue guys?
I think
Barely.
so.
Barely. And it's in school administration. I appreciate the American Fork Street work that's being done by northwest of the junior high. Boy, good street work. Keep up the good work. This is the best city I've ever lived in all of those places I've been. We've lived in Covina, California, Anaheim, Buenos Aires, Argentina. I didn't tell you that, did I? Buenos Aires, Argentina for 5 years. That's 7,500 miles that way of this room. I was the principal of the Walt Disney Elementary School, summer school in Anaheim, California, and a bishop down there, missionaries, my wife and I, in Yucatan, Mexico. I trust you, the American Fork City Council, I'm sorry I missed one, that you'll try and keep the appropriate balance. And I learned a new term, even in 90. The mayor said, the balance is called build out, build out. You build until it's time to build out. Is that right?
Correct.
And I appreciate living in this town. I'm mainly here to say, keep up the good work. Any questions? Is my time up?
Yeah. No question. We're good. Thank you, Reed.
Thanks, Reed.
I'll hit one for you at the
Yes,
golf
you will.
course.
I was
Yeah,
going to say, Reed's a Fox Hollow Pro. So.
down the middle. Oh, and I wanted to say a word for the senior citizens center. Those are great people and a good program going on over there. And $3 is a pretty good price for lunch. Thank you.
Thanks, Reed. Okay. Nicole Sabel, excuse me. Did I get it wrong, Nicole?
You're close. It's Sabel, Nicole
Sabel.
Sabel.
Okay, well, it's
I get something different all the time. But yeah, so I'm a neighbor or a homeowner in American Fork recently in the past year. I also work for Century Communities, which is a builder that's closer to the lake off of about 800 South, 900 West. And I was listening to City Council meeting video from the 8th that amended a final plat area from public facilities to now it's residential 3.0. And a lot of the neighbors and I have been kind of concerned about that area, about hearing about the Vineyard Connector going through there, about a highway. Oh, it could be 5 lanes, all of this. And so there's been a lot of concerns about what's going on over there. And just to see that or hear about that change was exciting, but I'm also like, well, what really is going on? And so trying to just figure that out. David Bunker, who I actually just saw here, he's supposed to come talk to all of us neighbors tomorrow night, which I'm excited about. And maybe kind of jumping the gun about trying to still figure out what's going on over there. I just wanted to have some notes before I met with him and just kind of make sure we all, me and for my neighbors, because I've sold homes to the neighbors in the area, and so some of them are just really concerned coming to me for answers, which I'm like, I have no idea where to find what's current information and to know like at what point can things not be changed. And so just, yeah, curious about that section. I know the Pony Express road, well, there's plans for it, but that's still not set in stone yet, but I'm excited if that goes through because I think that would be really helpful in that area because the traffic is going to get bad over there. Like there's just so much going on in that area and really just wanting more green space in that neighborhood would be so nice for kids, dogs. It is definitely going to be needed. So just looking for answers on that plat and what the reason was for the change. So,
Okay. David, will you provide that tomorrow night? Okay.
okay, thank you.
I have it right here. Well, let's see. I don't know if I have your number. Yes, I do.
Okay,
Have it all.
all right, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, anybody else that would like to make public comment? We invite you to come forward at this time.
Hello, my name is Scott Warren. We came here last month and came to one of these meetings and we were concerned about what we were referring to as the swamp, which is over in that same community that Nicole referenced. It looks like there's been some work done at the swamp, and they've cleaned up the weeds that were getting about 7 feet high. But we're concerned about the berm around the swamp, and that it doesn't look like it's engineered correctly, and that if the water raises at all, it'll flood everybody's backyards. And so I just kind of wanted to find out what was going on with that, because it looks like they are doing work out there and they're laying irrigation, and if they are going to drain the swamp or if they're going to make it a green space. So I was just curious as to what was the final say and what was going on with that.
Okay, I don't have all the details on that, but David will, and that will be a point that we can bring up tomorrow night as well.
Okay.
General area, correct?
Yeah, it's just across the street. It's
Yeah.
between, 800 South and 700 South and 800 South over
Yeah.
there. All
So-
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I remember, there was an email that got sent out
Yeah.
on that too.
This-
So if not, just make sure you got a response.
How would I take that?
No, I'm just wondering if you didn't see.
I have, I'm sorry.
David will get your information and make sure you get that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else that would like to make public comment? None of you scouts? Are you young men over there? Okay.
I think they're supposed to come up, each one of them individually for 5 minutes. Yeah, they are. We'll get them going right now.
Thanks for coming. Okay, all right. We'll close the public comment period, and we'll move on to item number 3, the city administrator's report. David?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to mention the 9/11 Day of Service is coming up, and as a staff, our city employees get together to do a service project, and we have done that annually every year for the past 7 years. And it's a great event, and we invite the public as well to participate in that. That's that if the public would go to justserve.org, there are multiple projects and opportunities to serve listed on that website as well. Just really appreciate our community, and we have such great people who live here, and just they want to serve, they want to help their neighbors, and we invite everybody to participate. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 4, our city council report. So I'll start with Councilmember Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor. I suspect this will be hit on a couple times, but I just wanted to just thank the police department, Chief Paul, with the Night Out Against Crime. That's a fun event. A lot of people, I mean, it's a hit for our family every time. I personally wasn't able to go, but at any rate, I'm sure everybody will go on it. But it's one that I think, in a world where we're constantly hearing of differing positions on the relationship with, neighborhoods and the police department, it's one that I consider very fondly. It just expresses how much a part of the community you guys are, and we just really appreciate you, Chief. So, I don't know, I don't do this very often. Well, I do it all the time, I guess, but I don't mean to do this all the time. But I with everybody going back to school, maybe a little emotional with all the changes that are happening in our household. I'm sure everybody's got the same thing, but I just have a renewed appreciation for where everybody's going in their lives. I got a son that's going to be sworn in tomorrow in the Air Force, and couldn't be more proud of that young man. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the interest of time, I'll just ditto what was said about the Night Out Against Crime. Wonderful job. It's a wonderful community affair, and I really think it emphasizes the good relationship that I hope all of our police feel that the community has for them. Because the people I know and the people I talk to are very grateful for both police and for fire and for all that they do for us. And congratulations on the boy joining the Air Force. That's a big step. Just wanted to mention two things that relate to the veterans of foreign wars and the American Legion. These are two separate organizations that involve those who have served in the military. And they have different purposes, but they kind of have the same. And they do let me hang around with them a little bit. They won't let me be a member. They've got some kind of a separate status that I could get, I guess, eventually. But just a great group of people, and they do a lot of great things. One of the things that they did this summer, I think he told me there were 5 different communities, including American Fork, Pleasant Grove, Alpine, a couple others, Linden maybe, where they attended the parades. And if you've seen them in a parade, they're usually right close to the front, if not the front, and they are the ones they're carrying. One of these flags behind me, the great symbol of our country and of our freedoms. And one of the things that they continually tell me is how impressed they are, and especially with American Fork, how the citizens, when the parade starts and citizens see that flag coming, they stand up and put their hands over their hearts and stand at attention while the flag passes. And as we all know, not every community in this country does that. But it is a big deal for people here in American Fork. And they truly appreciate that, as I do. Kind of tied into that, the cemetery committee met last week to begin the early planning for Veterans Day, which will be held on November the 10th. That is a Friday. A decision was made some time ago that we would do that on Friday instead of Saturday, specifically for the reason that we can invite the 5th grade students who are studying Utah history to come to that program. And the 5 grade schools, community grade schools that we have here, have been really good in the past to support that, and we will be inviting them to come join us as we invite everybody else who's here and who is listening. Again, that'll be November 10th. There'll be more information about that. Program will be held in the Alpine Tabernacle. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember Carroll?
Thanks, Mayor. I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Tater?
Yes, Mayor, we've got a couple things. First, I have to say how much I enjoy seeing Ryan cry. You know, it's so, and it's all for good reason, but his two oldest sons are making him very proud right now, and make sure you tell Dylan how much we appreciate his willingness to serve the country, and it's a great thing. I had the good fortune last night of having a meeting with a bunch of residents in the northwest quadrant of our town regarding the road work that was going on and some work that was happening with trees and ADA ramps and that were going in on the corners, and it was a spirited meeting. It was late. You come off a real high from that Meet the Candidates night. That was riveting. But we went up, and I had the good fortune of having David Bunker there, and Camden Bird was there as well as Ben Ash, our city arborist. And so we had all the forces there. We had 30-plus people in this home, and there was a lot of things expressed about how things were going, what was happening with the road, the process, the safety surrounding different things, and there were many things that we tried to address. I told them that I would represent them in this meeting tonight, and David had quite a list when we finished our discussions with him last night. And today we were able to find a lot of the things that were going on, and and with our contractor and things that we need to correct. And so we were able to put a stop on the progress that was happening up there, which in turn gave us an opportunity to make sure that the grass and the sprinklers that were being tore up from the ADA ramps, that they were going to be put back as they were supposed to be and is in the contract. And then it was going to give a chance for our arborists to be able to go there, because they have beautiful trees. And this is close to my heart, because I have trees in my parking strip in front of my house. I have a west-facing house, and the trees make all the difference in the world in the summertime. And we had a great discussion with them, and Ben is going to be able to go up and walk that area and kind of give some direction and hopefully bring some peace to some troubled folks that were wondering what was going to happen with their trees. And some trees are still going to have to come down. There's just no way around that. And but I was really grateful for our staff that number one, I think we left at 10:36 last night. And I'm grateful for those citizens that were willing to speak up and come together. But so often it's, the city government, all those guys just, and those people just. And man, we came home, and I talked to David multiple times today. He'd already rallied the troops that he needed to, and we have a lot of progress, where last night some things were in question, and unfortunately we were surprised about some things. And so it was good to have that meeting. But those are good people that came together, expressed their concern, and we have a lot to do as a city in terms of communication before construction projects go in, and getting a little farther out in front of it than maybe 10 days. So we took some good lessons, and we have good contractors we work with, but sometimes they need a little tune-up, and as we do. And so I was just really pleased with that process, and I wanted to make sure that those folks knew that they were represented, and that we're going to be able to make things a little better for them. So, Mayor, that is my report.
Okay, thank you for that report. For the mayor's report, I don't know if everybody had so much fun at Night Out Against Crime. Not for a while anyway. I did. I was dunked, I think, at least 40 times. The kids were lining up. It was double your money. We had a donor there that said if they'll buy a ticket, he'd match it. And we had a lot of fun. That was a great night to be able to interface with our police department in all the phases, from their front desk right down to the detectives, the canines, and it's become just a great annual event in our city. And on the more sobering news, and if I could just ride the wave of patriotism that we have talked about tonight by those that are serving, I each year at this Veterans Day program and the Memorial Day program, American Fork City does something. I think we do it as good as anybody. The program is one thing, but part of that program is that everybody's quiet, and one by one they read the name of those people who have been killed in the line of duty and they were residents of American Fork. Gave the ultimate sacrifice. There are a few names on there that says MIA, missing in action. And there is one gentleman, I've been able to talk with the family. His name is Jim Chipman. And after 50 years, Jim Chipman is coming home. They have found Jim Chipman, his dog tags, and he'll be coming home. And in this, on the 10th of November, we will remove the annotation of missing in action because he has been found. And I have just been beaming about that all week as I've learned about it, and as I've again had a chance to talk to the family. And but I was talking to my mother-in-law, who was in her mid-40s at the time and living in American Fork, and that was quite the buzz in our city at that in 1972, 74, something like that. There's one tree in Robinson Park. You can't miss it. It's a great big pine tree that's closest to the road, right on the corner. Right below that is a memorial. That memorial was that tree and that memorial was placed in his honor. And now that tree is huge, and I was talking to his son, he says, I have pictures with me standing next to that tree, and I'm just a little boy and I'm taller than the tree. And now it's just a massive tree in the park. So more information will be forthcoming, but I just can't help but share that with people that I know. And if you've heard it once, you've maybe heard it twice from me, if you've been around me, because I just think it's one of the neatest stories that will be told one way or another. So that is the mayor's report. We'll now move on to the common consent agenda, consisting of the 4 items that are before you. Carolyn, has any changes been noted of the minutes, the 2 sets of minutes? No. Okay.
Mayor, I'd move approval of the common consent agenda.
I'll second.
You have a motion by Councilmember Taylor and a second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Okay, I'll now move on to the action items. We have several tonight. It's nice to make sure everybody understands and notes that as we make decisions, and many of the things that we do, almost everything on this agenda, is we have a loaded packet that we received at the end of last week that gives us time to study, ask questions to staff. We have minutes from planning commission meetings, and these packets can get rather large. And so I don't want anybody to think that we go around making decisions in haste. We do it with great background, and we're very informed. The item number 1 is review and action on a cleaning contract with Caliber Cleaning Services to provide services in city buildings. Derek is here to answer questions if there are any of the council.
Just a comment, if I may. For me, it was nice to see all of the companies who had responded, the number of hours they felt would be involved, but also the total cost. And kind of interesting, it's close to the low one versus the high one. It's a multiple of almost 6 times as much, and several down closer to the low one. But it just kind of reinforces the idea of bidding these things out and getting quality responses and RFPs and doing quality evaluations. So my hat's off to all those who were involved in that and all the other RFPs that we do.
Any other questions?
And with that, may I move to approve the mayor to sign the contract with Caliber Cleaning Solutions and a 2-year contract.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Barnes,
Second.
second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Item number 2 is a review and action on a request to reallocate $2,000 in park funds from the Wasatch Contemporary Dance Project titled Accumulating Performances to Project titled Professional Dance Workshop Experience for Young Dancers by the same organization. Cameron, I'm going to have you, if you wouldn't mind, just do a synopsis on this, just for the people that are present.
Yeah, and Jessica, who is with Wasatch Contemporary Dance, was not able to make it today, so we excused her. But just briefly, council awarded $2,000 for a project that was applied for by Wasatch Contemporary Dance. The full ask was something more than that. It was like $4,800 or around there. And with the reduction in funds, they didn't feel like they were able to perform the original project that they had requested, and so they're pivoting, trying to do a different one. And so they came up with this for the $2,000 ask, which is really to teach a class to 30 to 40 students at the high school, to teach them interpretive dance or contemporary dance. And so it'd be a community event for for youth in our community. So, and this was put before the board, and each of the members individually were in favor of this, and so that's why they passed it on to you guys.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mayor, I'd move to grant the request to reallocate $2,000 in PARC funds from the Wasatch Contemporary Dance Project titled Culminating Performance to a project titled Professional Dance Workshop Experience for Young Dancers, much longer, by the same organization.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilmember Barnes. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Item number 3 is a review and action on a proposed land use map amendment located at 6411 North, 5750 West, approximately 1500 South and 100 East, from the residential very low density designation to the designed industrial land use designation. Thank you, Patrick.
So this is Mr. Skidmore's property. There's a site plan underway for adjacent property that he owns, and it is under review, but he needs to incorporate some of the neighboring property into his overall project. There's an application and petition for annexation submitted with the city because it's currently unincorporated, so to allow it to come in outside of a residential use and into that PI1 zone. Staff is just moving forward a proposal to change the land use to assist with that.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the proposed land use map amendment located at 6411 North, 5750 West, from the residential very low density designation to the design industrial designation.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 4 is a review and action on a proposed code text amendment known as Deer Park Code Text Amendment of the American Fork City Municipal Code, amending section 17.4.502 and 17.7.701. The code text amendments plans to provide outdoor storage areas for businesses located in the PI1 zone.
Thanks, Mayor. So just based on the tabling of the item at the most recent city council meeting, we went and revised some of the language and included incorporated some of the comments into a conditional use. We've outlined it as a point C under the section of code. We've added then 5 or 6 different criteria that Councilmember Barnes had brought up about the need for having certain criteria that it can be assessed against. Do you need me to go through each of the specific things, or is there anything in the packet that's
No.
a
I
question?
will say, like, I was pretty impressed with it. I felt like it really hit on, like, all of the things that we had talked about and our concerns. So, to me, I was really like, okay, I have nothing to add. That's exactly what I was hoping for.
I won't take any credit for saying anything because I can't remember saying it. Meet new friends every day, too. Some of you know that joke. The thing that impressed me was the minutes and the knockdown, drag-out discussion that Planning Commission had. And believe me, if it gets through that kind of a discussion, it's got to be in pretty good shape. So I just appreciate the minutes and the discussion and the service that Planning Commission rendered as they worked on this. So it is a big issue, it is a big item, and it's good that as a city, I feel, that we take time to really evaluate some of these things.
With that, Mayor, I'd happy to make an motion. I move to approve the ordinance for the proposed code text amendment, amending section 17.4.502 and section 17.7.701 to allow outside storage in the PI1 zone, with instructions to the city recorder to withhold publication of the ordinance subject to any conditions found in the public record of the July 19th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Okay, item number 5 is a review and action on an ordinance approving the Deer Park Thompson annexation consisting of 4.35 acres at approximately 50 west, 1100 south, including the ordinances of annexation, annexation agreement, street dedication plat, and placement of the property in the PI1 zone. Any questions for Patrick on this item?
Mayor, I'd move to adopt the ordinance approving the Deer Park Thompson annexation consisting of 4.35 acres at approximately 50 west, 1100 south, including the ordinance of annexation, annexation agreement, street dedication plat, and placement of the property in the PI1 zone, and authorize the mayor and council to sign the annexation documentation, annexation plat, and street dedication plat.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor, second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, item number 6 is a review and action on an ordinance approving the Deer Park South annexation consisting of 6.833 acres at approximately 50 west, 1300 south, including the ordinance of annexation, annexation agreement, street dedication plat, and placement of the property in the PI1 zone and the PF zone. Any discussion or any questions for Patrick?
This is, I just thought of it, it's relevant to that last couple of parcels too, but does this represent the very western edge of that? No, there's more.
So there's
Okay.
adjacent property just to that Christensen property, and that's what
That's the edge.
that separates the Deer Park properties and Boat Harbor Road.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I'm happy to make a motion. I move to adopt the ordinance approving the Deer Park South annexation consisting of 6.833 acres at approximately 50 west, 1300 south, including the ordinance of annexation, annexation agreement, street dedication plat, and placement of the property in the PI1 and PF zone, and authorize the mayor and council to sign the annexation documents, annexation plat, and street dedication plat.
Have a motion by Councilmember Carroll,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, item number 7 is a review and action on an ordinance approving zone changes for approximately 6.22 acres of land located at approximately 383 south, 500 east from the planned commercial GC zone to the general commercial GC1 zone. Why don't you just kind of back us up to where we were the last time
Yep.
when we were here?
So this project was before the city council a few months ago. It was tabled at that meeting with instruction to go back and try and put together a development agreement. Weren't able to come to terms on something like that, so we're just bringing it back for further discussion. And the applicant's here if there's kind of questions about just refreshing your mind of his proposal for the site. Just as a reminder of where the site is, it's just the property north of DI, the old Cascade Shadows property, just on 500 East.
Okay. Would the applicant like to speak to it? You just state your name for the record, thanks.
Larry Myler. The history on this is we came forward, talked to staff about it. We were inquiring about the best way to proceed, and we talked about a development agreement. And Patrick and his staff said, well, maybe not a development agreement, maybe just come in for the closest zone that would work for the project. And so we came requesting from GC2 to GC1. We went through the Planning Commission. and they recommended approval of that, and we came here before you. And you decided that it would maybe be better to do a development agreement after all, because you wanted to make sure that that frontage on 500 East remained commercial property and commercial uses. And so 3 months have passed, and not a lot of progress on the development agreement. I think it might be wise to perhaps consider again the zone change. The zone change from GC2 to GC1 would still allow commercial on the frontage, which is what we want, and that's our desire. We have inquiries from several commercial ventures. We've talked to some stores, some grocery stores, and it's not the site. The 2 acres out on the frontage isn't enough for a grocery store. We think we've talked to all of the grocers, and that's not going to fit. But that doesn't mean we can't put a convenience store or a restaurant or some other commercial use. And we are in fact talking to several possibilities there. So I think that might be the quickest. I'm wondering if we could go from GC2 to GC1 with the proviso or the restriction that the frontage on 500 East remain commercial or is required to be commercial. That was our desire all along, and that's really all we're talking to. The apartments behind that on the remaining 4.2 acres we don't need the property out on 500 East, so we're happy to have that kind of restriction in a zone change. The problem we're having is 3 months have passed since the Planning Commission meeting on the zone change. And this, because it's in an opportunity zone, we do have time restrictions, and the clock's kind of ticking on us, so we'd like to move forward, but in a way that does not allow us to disregard your desire for commercial. We share the desire, so we want to do that. If we go with a development agreement, there's going to be more time to draft it, and then go back to the Planning Commission, then go back to the City Council. If we can go forward with a zone change, the change that we would have, any kind of modifications to the zone are very minor. I think we could come in with a site plan at that point and have you all in the Planning Commission look at that. So that would save some time. I don't know quite how you would like to proceed, but that's the historical record on that, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You know, Larry, I will say this. I think that there may be, the mayor's office had a little bit to do with just having you come back here. I think this is the appropriate place to talk about this. I think that my general feeling is that we're eroding our commercial base by way of high-density housing. And we've had another developer now just about a month ago, and I think that we ought to hold in reserve our GC2 zone. It's hard to get your commercial back once you put housing on it, and so that's probably a little direction I've given Patrick. I'm trying to take some heat off of Patrick. So, but that's just the mayor's thoughts. Council, how do you feel about this zone change?
I can go, Mayor. I appreciate that that's the intent. The one thing that I'm a little concerned by is that there's in your report, it felt like it's only 2 acres that could be used for that. I'd love to say, I mean, I'd be willing to consider a different potential for height or something like that on the far east side. But we're talking about 6 acres total. And again, it's not our job to design it for you. I'm just saying, for me to consider a zone change, I would be more inclined to lean that way if it was the entire, and I don't know exactly, but essentially the back property, the east property line of DI, over to the west to 5th East, and I am assuming that's probably about 4 acres. And so if that, and I don't know this, but if 4 acres would be adequate for a shopping center or smaller, local store, I have no idea. But that's when I would be more inclined to change the zone on the opposite side to help that process happen. But I'm with the mayor. I'm really committed. I just feel like, I mean, you only have to look at on the south side of DI, of course, you're seeing the opportunity that could exist, but it also is so packed in there. And I don't want to see just single-story retail strip mall kind of like that. I'd love for that to be an anchor tenant Longhorn Steak, again, whatever, steakhouse, or you've mentioned several different people that you've talked to, but I just, anyway, that's where I stand. I'd be less inclined to make a zone change unless it was to preserve more than just, 2 acres of it as commercial.
I'm in the same camp. We've got so much development in terms of high density housing behind there. I would have to be seriously compelled to put more, and I just don't think I can be. That commercial area, the mayor was nice when he says it's tough to get it back. You don't get it back. We give up that's not coming back, and there's so much back there now already, and we knew that was the way it was going to be. That's why it was zoned that way. So I don't have the inclination to push forward with a zone change. I want to be able to leave that commercial and all the way into that intersection, all the way east on that property line that you've shown. So that's kind of what I feel right now.
Can I clarify? You're asking for the whole 6.2 acres to remain non-residential?
Just within the zone that's set now, yes.
Okay, so no residential?
No residential, no addition, yeah.
I mean, it is currently planned to not be residential, it's currently planned to be commercial. And when you came before, I was very clear that I am very concerned about the commercial being gone on 500 East, but I'm not thinking like just a strip mall. You kind of punctuated when you said, nobody wants to come in on 2 acres. That's kind of our concern right there, is that we're stripping that away, the ability to have flexibility for our commercial interests. So I don't have a delineation other than I want substantial commercial in the area. So for me, I can't support a zone change without that.
To clarify, it wasn't that no one would come in on the 2 acres. It's that
A grocery
a
store.
grocery store would be more difficult to bring in on a small.
Grocery store can't survive on 2 acres. It just doesn't provide the space and the parking and
Right.
the delivery trucks and the ramps and all that other stuff. I'm going to be the odd boy out on this, as I think I was before. This is a property rights issue for me, and I understand. I'm not arguing that I don't understand what all of you are saying. But we don't have any skin in the game as far as buying the property and developing it and everything else. And I just need more reason to come on board with the other 3. So at this point, I have no problem with it doing what you want to do, put a little store out front, develop the rest for housing. We have some real problems with growth, there's no question. We need place for people to live. We need the business base in the city. The residents need the businesses to go to, the walking distance, all the other things that were mentioned, that Planning Commission talked about and everything else. And I understand all of that. But again, it's their property, not ours.
Can I just confirm, when you bought that property, it was currently zoned as commercial, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's why I'm just making sure I understood that correctly.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference in property rights, Kevin, is it's zoned, it's set up in the master plan that way. I'm with you, I get it, I feel for you. But we can't let go of that commercial element that exists there. And, I'm sensitive to property rights, but you know what it was when you picked it up. And so, as harsh as that seems, I'm not comfortable switching that out of commercial and allowing more high density to go in there. We're so packed back there as it is, and I just think the plan was put that way for a reason. I think that makes the most sense, and that's why I'm landing where I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at, again, just looking at your aerial map, it's a couple pages down from this one, but with the X's on it and the yellow, the parcel map, I guess, or the county parcel map. If you mirror that to the DI parcel, they clearly have a significant shopping store in a similar, it's not the same, but, and so I don't think it would be a Walmart by any stretch. But that's why I kind of say, for me, I could see a delineating line somewhere relatively consistent with the east property line of DI, allowing for a residential that was more fronting the, I apologize, I don't know what street that is, 6th East, probably, something like that.
600. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, continuing that line, I would be kind of, that's why for me, having homes that faced 600 East, and then from the back side of that parcel, I could definitely get on board with
Right.
something like that.
Okay.
Maybe that's
Well, it's an interesting challenge. Had we only put it under contract to wait until this approval was finalized, then that would be easy to walk away at this point and say at the price that it's being offered, at the price we have it tied up, it wouldn't make sense to do what you're suggesting. That would have been an easy thing. Unfortunately, we bought the land at a price that will not work for all commercial.
Yeah.
Will not work. So if you're wanting commercial, it won't happen on this piece at all at the price that we paid for it. So I'm not sure where we go from here, but at least we've knocked down an eyesore, and I guess we'll clear off weeds for the next decade to come and see if prices can rise for the use that you wish.
Thank you.
That's where we're
Okay.
at.
All right, any other discussion, council?
No, I'm happy to make a motion. I am going to move to deny, but I do want to say, not that I understand your exact scenario, but I don't do it lightly because I know, I feel very keenly how hard it is, and it's always hard for me, but I have to look at what this, I feel is going to be the best interest of the city as a whole, and so I'm going to make the motion to deny approval of the Cascade zone change located approximately 383 South, 500 East from the planned commercial GC2 zone to the general commercial GC1 zone.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Yeah, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Nay.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay. Motion denied is carried 3-1. Thank you. Item number 8 is a review and action on an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of a preliminary plan for Roderick Catalyst Business Park Phase 3, located in the area of 1600 South, 150 East in the PI1 Planned Industrial Zone. So if you wouldn't mind, Patrick, just, I know sometimes I have you say things, and then why don't you give us a little synopsis?
Yep. So the preliminary plan was before Planning Commission a few weeks ago. The Planning Commission voted to deny the preliminary plan. They would be the final approving body. There were a number of findings of fact that were provided to the Planning Commission for reasons for denial based on the staff review. Items that needed to be addressed and hadn't been addressed. Specifically items that don't meet or incorporate certain elements of our general plan or of our master plans, and other sections of our municipal code that we generally require applicants to provide to us to get plans moving forward with an approval. So for that reason, staff was not able to make recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission denied it. Each of the items are engineering related items, and they're quite substantial from the staff perspective, and could have a tremendous impact on the overall area, as there are issues related to our transportation master plan as well. The applicant appealed the decision then of the Planning Commission to the City Council to look to have that final action of denial to be overturned. I'm happy to go into more detail if there's any specific questions on things. I know our city engineer briefed Susan on some of the engineering specific items. Yeah.
Well, I mean, can I just go ahead and make a comment? There was a very large amount of information in the packet on this, so we have been briefed incredibly thoroughly. I feel like I've had conversations with the Planning Commission and you, and I'm saying virtually over my reading. And so for me, I look at especially the cul-de-sac, we have gone the ringer with the temporary cul-de-sacs around and around already. And I'm unwilling to have that conversation again because I feel like we've come to the best resolution that we can come to at this time. And so I have to hold firm on that. And as far as the intersection itself, although I understand some rationale in their thinking, the fact remains that is our master plan, and we made that decision for a reason. And to blatantly say we're not going to do it because we don't like it is not how the process works. So for me, if we chose to change it, that's one thing, but I actually, talking to city administrator this morning, I think that it was the best decision made to put that roundabout in there. So once again, for me personally, I'd hold firm.
Thanks for those comments, Councilmember Carroll. I actually have a differing opinion, but I appreciate your stance, because I know how seriously you take studying something like this out. It's, for me, well, first of all, I should say, this is the right suggestion or recommendation from council, in my opinion.
From the planning commission?
Or to the
Yeah.
planning commission was denial, because it doesn't meet city code.
Right.
Right, that has to be your recommendation, because the code is that. I think, for me, as I've looked through this, I actually feel like there's an opportunity for change to happen. I'm not a fan of the roundabout. I wasn't here when that master plan was adopted. Well, I mean, generally speaking, I've been around since then, but I don't like the idea of a roundabout in that location personally. I had a pretty lengthy conversation with David as well about this very thing. I prefer a street light on that intersection. I think it's the right decision, but again, that's an opinion thing. As I've talked with David primarily, and then obviously read through this, I talked to Rod Martin about this last night at the riveting Meet the Candidates night. For me, I just feel like there are some opportunities to reconsider how we approve it. Now, my suggestion isn't that we necessarily make a full fell swoop. We're going to motion to or move to approve this, because that's not what I believe is the process, as you stated. But I do think that potentially, or at least evaluating, changing or amending the master plan to accommodate something, so that then a recommendation, so that it could comply. We've done that with the park
Sure.
that was across the street that was actually on here earlier. Having a park, when that master plan was created, there was quite a bit different envisioned for that area. And so, much like the park that we said, oh, hey, things have changed, we got a 30-acre park a block north, let's reroute this and go. That's how I feel about this. This, in my opinion, leads to an opportunity, again, not saying we just, overturn an appeal or accept an appeal, but we go back, work with the developer and say, okay, what is in the best long-term interest of this now that we've got a significant portion of this area developed? It's obviously phase 3. There were several things in there that, having built numerous of these products, the dumpster enclosure being one, it's like, that's a ridiculous thing. I think, great, let's consider that right decision to suggest that doesn't meet code, because our code doesn't include it, but that doesn't mean the code's correct, in my opinion. Having a dumpster enclosure that meets the needs of a significant industrial warehouse space, having landscape around that, all that is a blight. And the way this is designed, it's not intending to circumvent the code. It's truly in my opinion, the right decision for that type of product. And so, again, my suggestion is, and and tell me if I'm wrong, there was so much information in this, and that I think there's kind of 4, if I heard them right, key.
Yes, but only
So
2 are up for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Only
so
the
there
2
was,
big ones.
there was the preliminary plan, which was denied.
Okay.
There was a final plat, which had a recommendation of denial, a final plat, which was tabled, and a site plan.
Okay. As I've talked with David, we actually, again, brainstorming. I am certainly not the engineer to figure this out. I'm with you. We've gone through the cul-de-sac situation. I think because of the layout of this particular plat, again, assuming the developer was amenable to this, you could connect 1600 North cul-de-sac and 1700 Street with an easement through that until the development continues west.
West.
That's gonna be a truck road anyway. Again, I haven't seen a plat. I don't know what the actual layout of this development looks like as far as the actual building placement and such, but anyway, I think there's an opportunity that we can, as I talked to David about putting a street light in there, he suggested that there's a possibility that we maybe need to, you know, kind of tweak that road so it's a little more, because right now the road is more of a, with a roundabout, you don't necessarily need to hit dead
Right,
square.
Perfect. yeah.
And so maybe there's some adjustments there, but for me, I just want to go on the record and say that while I think denial is the right decision for this appeal, I want it to, in my opinion, prompt much like the one we just had, right? Where table it or deny it, send it back, let's get it right, come back and say, here's a few things that make this work so that the recommendation can be within code, but not to supersede or circumvent the code, but to make it more consistent. They're just,
Well, in this case, because we're talking about, at least on the roundabout, that's a master plan change for just that one area.
Yeah.
Like, potentially, you can correct me, but if we tabled it and then changed the master plan for that one intersection, potentially then they could be in compliance.
Well, the issue there would be, again, the
It's a timeline as
realignment
well.
of the roadway. So if a denial would be more appropriate so that we could go back and redesign the roadway layout. If we were to agree that the master transportation plan could be amended, that would have to go through planning commission as well and come back through city council. Not saying that that can't happen, it can, but then a redesign of some of the infrastructure would be necessary. So a denial would be more appropriate so that we could then start that process.
and I would, much like was just, you know, displayed when you went back, modified the code to fit the things that we'd requested. That doesn't have to be a 2-year process, clearly. Obviously, you guys are super great at what you do, and we appreciate that, because I was a little surprised, frankly, to see that other one come back so fast, so we appreciate that a ton.
You have little faith.
Not surprised, I just know your workload. That genuinely was not intended to be a dig. That
No,
was
I know,
intended to be I mean, I just know how busy you guys are, and to prioritize that. I don't, this developer is different in my mind in so many ways. This is a build and hold developer. They have every interest in the world. They've shown that ability. They've got millions of square feet down there. They have every reason to want this to be the right way. They're not, this is different in my mind, where it's not well, I'm just trying to get this thing in the ground and the quickest I can sell it, flip it out and be out of here, right? That's just my take on it. It's my gut feel.
Make a motion.
Sorry.
Just real
Looked like
quick,
Kev wanted to
before we
chat.
do that, that was a lot of reading. I probably misunderstood most of it.
No, you didn't.
You
But
didn't.
I
He's
will
being
quote a
self-deprecating.
member of the planning commission who said, quote, "This 1500 South roundabout is ludicrous." We may or may not agree with him, but I see roundabouts as more residentially oriented in a way, and not for big, heavy trucks that are serving an industrial kind of an area. Most of the roundabouts that I'm familiar with are usually pretty small. There's a bunch of other comments, and I won't go there. But I'm also a little concerned about the idea of the enclosures for the garbage. They've started a project, and although this isn't the same project, it's kind of tied into it in my mind, and we've approved some of it in the past, and if I understood it right, maybe incorrectly, 2 wrongs don't make a right. My dad always told me that after I'd beat the crap out of my little brother because he did something stupid. and I'm not saying two wrongs make a right, but we've already allowed them to do something, and right or wrong, I think we should continue to allow them to do that to help match with the other components of the buildings and the things that they're doing down there. So in a sense, I'm kind of saying, yeah, I think it should be tabled, or whatever we decide to do, and that some more work ought to be done on a couple of these issues.
And I don't necessarily
That's all
see
I'm
it
saying.
as continuing to do something wrong. There are a lot of the large-scale commercial developments we're seeing, like Councilmember Hunter has brought up. The dumpster enclosure is quite problematic because we have a standard, but that's for a
retail.
it's for two dumpsters. Some of them are needing far more than that, and there's not a lot of wiggle room to kind of go out because it's literally the standard. We understand the constraint of that, but there's also the element of that is what the code is. We, as staff, don't have the ability to make a recommendation to go
No, and
to
I
go against
understand
that. So, yeah.
And I
think
understand that. That's part of
as
the
we look
problem.
at something, it probably is something that needs to be.
And that's part of the problem I have with a quote-unquote code. It doesn't fit every situation
Sure.
every time. I like a little more flexibility, as I think most of you understand, a little more of the ability of a property owner, especially who I think really intends to manage his property, to hold on to it and everything else. And so just a couple of thoughts, and then I'll shut up right now.
Okay, I think there was maybe a motion to be, what you would consider.
Yeah,
I'm the applicant.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm very.
Been very excited. I'm going to have you come up.
I'm Ben Wheat. I'm with Roderick Enterprises. I oversee all the development down there at Catalyst Business Park. I shouldn't have touched it. I'm assuming you guys got my very lengthy and okay. I won't. Yep. There are two things that I just would like to pass out if I can.
Ben, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Has the planning commission seen this?
This has been so there was one comment on the planning commission from Ben Hunter. There were some concerns on what the assumptions were with our traffic studies. So we went through 7 rounds of over 9.5 months of red lines back and forth with the city. Rounds 2 through 6 had the intersection there as a 4-way. They had us do 2 separate traffic studies with Hales Engineering to back up why we wanted to have that as a 4-way stop or intersection 2-way, whatever they wanted to have happen. On the 7th review, the cul-de-sac or the roundabout came back into the red lines. So we felt like we had kind of gone to a roadblock. In these 2 applications, there's only 2 things we're talking about. We're talking about the cul-de-sac on 100 East and 1500 South. And then the temporary cul-de-sac. The temporary cul-de-sac was constructed as part of Phase 2's improvements. And that was what the detail was when we had Phase 2 and that was approved. That has changed with the city code, and now they're requiring us to change that to a permanent cul-de-sac that will be ripped out when TSSD puts their road through Boat Harbor Road. So those are the 2 issues on just what we have here tonight. The 2 things I would pass out today, Planning Commission hasn't seen, there was a memorandum done by Hales Engineering. There was a question by Ben Hunter on the assumptions of growth that was being used to make their conclusion on what the traffic level was going to be by the 2050 general plan of American Fork City. And they've made those clarifications. That's what I was going to pass out.
We just paraphrase it for us, Ben.
Horrocks Engineering is the company that the city used. Their assumptions for the 2050 model bases on 6.5% increases annually on 100 East and 7.1% on 1500 South. With Hales Engineering, our assumptions were used as 12.3% on 100 East and 11% on 1500 South. So we're almost double their assumption annual growths. And based on the traffic study that you guys saw from Planning Commission, in 2050, that level of service is still an A, with a 7.3 second delay on the northbound through movement and a northbound southbound 2-way stop control configuration. We also had Hales Engineering doing a sensitivity analysis to see how much additional growth could be until that four-way stop, quote unquote, fails. Their conclusion was that on a 100 East, there could be 7,000 vehicles per day and 11,600 vehicles per day on 1500 South. That represents a 1,762% increase on 100 East and a 968% increase on 1500 South. Again, to Ryan's comments, we only get one way to do this. We're never going to sell it. It's a legacy asset for our company. This may seem like it's just a small detail, but it's a very, very important detail to us. The other thing I was going to send out to you guys or pass out was, this is the Transportation General Plan, is what everyone's referring to tonight. From the Pleasant Grove Boulevard exit to the Boat Harbor Road on that 1500 South, there is 4 roundabouts on this general plan. We just don't feel that that is a proper way to funnel that level of traffic from Pleasant Grove to the Boat Harbor with the amount of planned industrial development that's happening there. We just saw all of the requests from Deer Park. That project's going to be over 75 acres once their annexation comes in. We have 110 acres at our project. You have Amazon, you have the developments to the north of us, you have the Boat Harbor storage, you have trailers, track it. I think there's a huge benefit in roundabouts in residential areas where there's high levels of traffic. We've done now 3 different types of traffic studies to show that those volumes are not going to be, are not projected, and the sensitivity analysis to our room for error is over 1,000%. That's, I guess, all I would say. I hope you enjoyed my very lengthy presentation. And sorry, I'm very sensitive to everyone's questions. We were trying to defer this to next week's meeting just because we had some of this additional information that we wanted to get in front. Ryan was going to be here with Hales Engineering. He's been sick for the last 2 days, and so obviously I'm just trying to regurgitate some of that information because he's much smarter than.
Talked real well, man.
Yeah.
Like you're a traffic engineer. Okay.
So, and maybe I need some help here, because, again, I want this to come across as, well, much like the last one. I don't feel like tabling it's the right thing, because I don't think tabling it, because it doesn't hit code, so the right thing to do is to deny it with the expectation that I think there's ways, or a way, to get to, and it does include, in my opinion, amending the master plan to not include a roundabout, but a traffic-controlled intersection or something like that. I'm not the guy to decide that. I'm just saying, in my mind, that seems.
But we are the group to decide that.
Well, meaning I'm not the engineer to know whether that study is the right math or whatever, right? I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think denial is the right, and so I guess I would move to deny this on the basis that we are moving forward with the overall idea that there's an opportunity here. I mean, anyway, I don't know.
What's the right vehicle? I mean, is it an outright denial? Do we have, what are?
Would it be appropriate to list the findings of fact as well, so that we can make sure that that's included in the motion?
Okay.
Yeah.
So prelim findings of fact, I'm on, well, I don't know if it's the same one, but 131.
So the suggested motion in the packet refers to findings of fact 1, 2, and 3. Council certainly doesn't have to adopt all 3 of those findings. It can adopt all of those or pass all those findings, but we do want to specify which findings the council is moving to deny the project under.
Okay. So there's 3 findings?
Yeah,
Because
these are different than what you're referring to than the 4.
Okay.
So there was 4 with Planning Commission, 2 were related to site plans.
Yes.
And they're not.
Quoting Planning Commission, they didn't want to send all 4 to you because they didn't they didn't want to send you so much. And so the bike path and the trasher enclosures are related to the two site plans that we were doing for
Wait.
building 6 and 8.
Okay. So, I guess some help, but let me just say what I think I would like to see. I think there's an opportunity for the cul-de-sac on, and I might even be wrong on the street, 1700 South. That's
Correct.
the cul-de-sac, the temporary cul-de-sac. I think that can be overcome with and again, not the person to figure this out, but some sort of connectivity between 1600's cul-de-sac that's already fits and tying it in temporarily to 1700. It's already gonna have truck traffic through there. There's gonna likely be egress on both the cul-de-sac on 1600 and on 1700. Again, this was a 6 o'clock conversation that I had with David, so I'm not an engineer, but I just feel like however we get to that point, there's a way to not regurgitate and step on top of what we've already decided about cul-de-sacs, because there's already connectivity between two streets.
Yeah, I mean, the code that we wrote was very clear that if there's connectivity, it's fine.
Right, and
It's
that's
just
why I'm
that-
saying I think we can, there's an avenue to get to that, and we're not contradictory to our own conversation we've had just several months ago.
Yeah, so the temporary cul-de-sac, the conversation with Planning Commission is that we've done, again, the temporary cul-de-sac is in as part of Phase 2 improvements. It's there. What they're wanting us to do is change it to the new code, which is what we don't agree with. The property to the west of us is owned by TSSD. That has been confirmed with Ben Hunter that their application, they're in the process. I don't think they've actually applied. Yeah, right. So their intention is to continue 1700 South to Boat Harbor Road. They've got a small lift station on 1500 South, and just to the west of that that would replace that, and then there's going to be two 42-inch sewer lines that goes down 17, and then they're going to put probably close to a 6-acre lift station on that property to the west of us. The intention from planning or from staff was we would build the whole cul-de-sac, dedicate the ground to them, and then when TSSD comes in, we try to get our ground back, and we try to get them to pay for the removal of that cul-de-sac once that connectivity goes to Boat Harbor Road. All I was asking was to let the temporary cul-de-sac remain in its approved status as it was in Phase 2, and if I ever come in to go build that Lot 7, and that TSSD plan is not there, then staff can require me to put in that cul-de-sac as part of the site plan of Lot 7 with that building site plan and permit that the Planning Commission and you would have to see when I go build that building.
So-
There's just, it's a waste of resources.
Part of your plan?
This is I need
It's a four lot subdivision, so.
Lot 7's the southwest corner.
Yes, and that's where the temporary
temporary
cul-de-sac currently sits in its state right now.
So why would that be?
What we just don't, so if we do a temporary cul-de-sac based on the new code that was implemented into American Fork City, we build a full cul-de-sac
Right,
to.
the size and the.
Everything's the
grade
same.
and the
Everything,
sidewalk
so we
and
do
all the
storm drain,
things.
we do road
Right.
base, we do asphalt, we
And
do
right now
curb
you
gutter,
just
we
have,
do
like,
asphalt.
Asphalt or something.
We have a radius that's been approved by
Yes.
Matt Sacco to do a
Okay, so
turnaround on
why
it.
are,
So I guess that's what I'm, anyway, here's where I would suggest, we deny it, and somebody help me figure this out, but we deny it based on findings of fact 1, 2, and 3, and then maybe give instruction that, let's figure this out, because if Lot 7 is not even a part of it, I don't know why the cul-de-sac's even in consideration for being brought up to code.
yeah, yeah.
So lot 7, so the other item that we have on here is the plat, the final plat. And the final plat, you're approving lots 6, 7, 8, and 9.
So could you just pull 7 out of it and not have that be a part of it?
We could, but
No.
we're improving all
This is why I
the.
should be the one trying to come up with a reason to do that.
And we would be in favor of that. We would be in favor of that and do a phase 4 that would be just lot 7.
That's what I'm wondering.
We would be.
That's really where I'm headed.
We would be in
'Cause
favor
then
of that.
the temporary cul-de-sac doesn't even come up. It's
not an
You work
issue.
on the 3 lots, and
Can-
phase 4 is that one last lot.
Mhm.
Can I
Anyway,
just-
I'm
can
just
I-
gonna make a motion.
Perfect.
Can I
Sorry,
ju-
were you- Okay, I'm going to make a motion to move to deny the proposed preliminary plan located approximately 1600 South, 150 East in the PI1 zone, as it does not comply with the American Fork Municipal Code, including but not limited to findings of fact 1, 2, and 3 identified in the staff report.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion by Councilmember Hunter, second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this motion?
Can I just make for the record, I guess it's not part of the motion, but let's just figure this out. It doesn't seem like we're that far off, and I think
right.
No, and I agree. The problem is we've been
It's been too
10
long.
months at
It's
this.
been too long. Great. Let's prioritize it.
Okay. I'm going to call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Okay, item number 9A is a review and action on the final plat of Roderick Catalyst Subdivision Phase 3, located in the area of 1600 North, 150 East. That's not north, that's south, correct?
Well, that's the same thing, right? So do we pull it, or do we just
You deny that one too.
deny it?
Yeah,
Move to
then we can work on it all
Okay.
together.
Located in the area of 1600 South, 150 East in the PI Planned Industrial Zone.
Got to jump to the page. So with that, I move to deny the final plat located approximately, is this the same one?
It's
Slightly
not the same
different.
one you just
Same-
did.
It's not the
Different-
same one, this is the next one.
This is
Yeah.
the other motion.
All right. Move to deny the final plat located approximately 1600 South, 150 East in the PI1 zone, as it does not comply with the American Fork Municipal Code, including but not limited to not having received approval of a preliminary plat and finding of fact 1 and 2 identified in the staff report. Does that need 3? Okay.
You have a motion by Councilmember Hunter,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Item number 10 is a review and action on an ordinance amending section 17.4.402 of the American Fork Municipal Code relating to permitted uses in the general commercial, the GC1 zone.
Thanks, Mayor. Permitted uses in the GC1 zone outline that you can have all of the permitted uses of the CC1 also, as well as some additional ones. This code text amendment is just to pull out the provision that allows for residential from the CC1, where we've spoken about the importance of not eroding our commercial base. We have a lot of people who've brought projects forward trying to utilize the general commercial zone but putting residential into it. This would still allow all of the other uses within the CC1, but it just takes out the residential portion of that.
Thanks, Patrick. I've been very concerned about this, as you know, so I was really relieved to see this. Thank you so much for working on it. I'm happy to make a motion. I move to approve the proposed code text amendment amending section 17.4.402 of the American Fork Municipal Code relating to permitted uses in the general commercial GC1 zone and providing an effective date for the ordinance.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Okay, item number 11 is a review and action on approval of a contract with JUB Engineers for professional services for the Boat Harbor Master Plan.
Derek makes the trip up
Yes.
twice in one meeting.
I'll just say cool. I'm so glad that we're doing
Yeah, this
work
is-
down there. Really.
It's interesting, the comments we had last night at the meeting, that one of the gentlemen there works for the, hangs out in the boat harbor, and he works for the Department of Natural Resources, DNR, is that what he said? So,
Did he know about our grant?
we told him.
Okay. Because I'm not sure it wasn't DNR that gave us some grant money, it was the state park. Yep. So, yeah, good improvement for that area. Any questions for Derek?
I'm happy to move to approve I will approve I'll have approve that the mayor signs the agreement for professional services with JV Engineers.
Have a motion by Councilmember Carroll,
Second.
second by Councilmember Barnes. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Okay, item number 12 is something that Derek needs to be up here for. I'm just kidding.
He needs his exercise.
Okay, item number 12 is a review and action on an award of a contract for the traffic signal at 620 South, 600 East to Cache Valley Electric.
Mayor, I move that we approve the bid submitted by Cache Valley Electric for construction of the traffic signal at 620 South, 600 East, and the other side improvements for the amount of $306,788.15, and approve the construction contract as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this item? I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 13 is a review and ordinance, an action on an ordinance amending Chapter 15.30 of the American Fork City Code relating to the naming of public parks, buildings, and streets. Any questions?
This is real clear. I'm just going to motion to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 15.3 of the City Code relating to the naming of public parks, buildings, and streets.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Item number 14 is review and action on an ordinance approving the adjustment of the common boundaries with Pleasant Grove City located at approximately 1485 East, 300 North, and consisting of .729 acres to allow said property to be annexed into Pleasant Grove. We'll clean up over here in this little part of our town.
Mayor, I'd move to adopt the ordinance approving the adjustment of the common border of Pleasant Grove City located at approximately 1485 East, 300 North, parcel number 14-018-0067, consisting of approximately .73 acres, to allow said property to be annexed into Pleasant Grove City.
Get a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion?
Just a quick question. I assume that they are in favor of this, that it's all been discussed and that
Yeah.
they know it's coming, correct?
This was requested by the applicant, and Pleasant Grove has already passed the necessary resolutions on their end.
And that was going to be my other question is, have
We were
they
hoping
done
to
the
sneak
action?
over the
Yeah.
sneaky whatever, and they wouldn't know about it, but thanks for bringing it up, Kev.
Anytime.
Kind of blew that.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Item number 14 is a review and action. Hold on. Yeah,
That was 14,
okay.
I think.
I've got something off here. Review and action on an ordinance, number 15, review and action on a resolution consenting to the reorganization of the Timpanogos Special Service District, known as TSSD, as a special district.
This is a good move, and I think it's going to be very beneficial, so I would move to adopt the resolution consenting to reorganize the reorganization of the Timpanogos Special Service District as a special district.
It is
That's
special.
pretty
There's a lot of hard
special,
consonants.
yeah.
There's a lot of hard consonants
You're
right there.
special, Clark.
I am special.
I'll
Okay,
second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor and a second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this motion? I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Okay, item number 16. It is consideration and action to enter into a closed session.
Mayor, I'd move to go into closed session. Closed meeting described under section 52-4-204, held for discussion of the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. Strategy sessions to discuss collective bargaining and/or strategy sessions to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
Okay, I have a motion by,
Property purchase.
And I'd like to go into there, D, the strategy session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form of water right or water shares.
Second.
okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter, second by Councilmember Barnes. And I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, for the public's notice, we will meet downstairs in our closed session. Upon the closure of that meeting, we will open the door and will convene our council and adjourn our council meeting from downstairs.
Right, for sure.